Cardi D. Did oompaville ask questions to Jimmy that will be satisfactory to people watching like you and me? Will see by the end of this video. So I'm begging you, please don't go. No, seriously, it's gonna be a great video. Stick around. What's up, everybody? As you heard from that amazing intro song, that's right, the king has spoken, and we're going to dive into all the things he talked about, all the things that we were shocked to hear, which really wasn't a whole lot, but either way, we're going to get into it because that's what I do. I talk about stuff, and I've been covering this beast drama since the very beginning, so why not continue to talk about it here with you guys right here, right now. Let's get into it, baby. And make sure you stick around to the end because we're going to talk about whether or not Jimmy's actually going to sue Dogpack and how I feel about that, and more importantly, why I think Jimmy let it slip that he's also going to be suing Rosanna Pansino and maybe someone else. Now let's get the elephant out of the room right away. Oompaville, yes, I know notoriously he is known for doing softball interviews, but I gotta admit, I think he did pretty good on this one. If I had to say, I think that he did a pretty solid job. Oompaville, in my opinion, asked all the questions that we could possibly want to know, even going so far as to call Jimmy on the very next day to ask him a couple more questions because he forgot the day before. I think that you could tell how seriously Oompaville was taking this interview. This was like 2024's biggest interview of the year, considering all the drama that has led us to this point. So in this video, instead of just reacting to the whole entire interview because it was a really, really long interview, we're going to just focus on the highlights and things that I found very interesting about this interview, things that I felt that we all wanted to hear the most about. Like, did he know about Ava Chris Tyson? Did he know about the Shadman stuff? Did he know what Ava Chris Tyson was doing? A lot of Ava Chris Tyson stuff. Was Jimmy rug pulling crypto? Does he know about the moldy cheese? So these are the things we all need answers to. So much to talk about. Let's get right into it with the first question. So firstly, you could tell that Oompaville is incredibly nervous throughout this whole entire interview. Now, I can't tell if he's nervous because he's sitting in front of Mr. Beast, who's the biggest YouTuber in the world, or if he's nervous because he's afraid that he's gonna fuck this up. Oompa, you didn't let us down. You did it for autistics everywhere. You did it for a video we can share. I mean, Oompa literally starts off this whole video with a disclaimer basically being like, don't get upset if you guys aren't happy with the way I do interviews, okay? This is how I do interviews. And you can't fault them for that because this is an impossible situation for most people. I don't think Barbara Walters would be able to do this and please everybody.
And I think that it is important for me to document my intentions before embarking on this risky and difficult task. I am not Scott Pelley. I am not a hard-hitting genius investigative journalist. I'm a YouTuber with a medium-sized platform.
Okay, Oompa, I appreciate you trying to be humble, but let's be honest. You're not a medium platform. You are like a large platform. You have 5 million subscribers. That's not small or medium. But I appreciate you trying to be humble, but you're not fooling us.
I am currently doing journalism, to be fair, but I am goofy, all right? Also, back in August, I platformed Dogpack, and out of fairness, I feel that it is important to do the same for Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast has agreed to keep an open line of communication. He'll only be here for a little bit, which is crazy because he's flying halfway across the country. And he and his team have agreed to provide us with evidence and information to give proof to claims so we can actually be as transparent here as possible. I'm sure I missed some questions, but I absolutely did my best, and I stand behind the result, maybe, and I look forward to seeing the comments and criticism.
Yeah, I don't think he's excited for the comments and the criticism because we all know that right now everybody hates Mr. Beast. He's like public enemy #1 for anybody who's over the age of 20. So Oompaville starts off the interview making Jimmy put his hand on a Bible, which is dangerous because if he's the Antichrist, he might burst into flames. I don't really take Mr. Beast as a religious guy, and I don't think putting his hand on the Bible would stop him from lying if he really wanted to.
Would you be willing to put your hand on this Bible and swear?
Oh my gosh, you actually have a Bible?
I have 2 Bibles.
Are you being serious?
I am being serious.
Okay.
I'm swear. This will be an honest video. You're a man from North Carolina. I'm from Virginia.
The Bible Belt.
The Bible Belt.
Yep.
Exactly.
I know what this means.
This means it's legit.
Yes. Okay.
There we go.
I was not expecting that.
So the first question that Oompaville comes out with, and probably one of the questions that everybody wants to know, is why did Mr. Beast wait so long to respond to this stuff? Now, I'll be honest, a lot of these answers sound like Jimmy got prepped by a lawyer beforehand, because a lot of these do come off like corporate jargon or something you'd see like a politician say. But I think it also opens our eyes a lot to the ins and outs of owning such a massive corporation and why you can't just jump right out and do like a crazy ass response to a video like this.
Why were you so silent, especially off the bat? Like, you did respond to the Ava Tyson stuff immediately, but like, right after that, a bunch of other stuff came out, and Dawson's video, his first video, gained a bunch of traction. What was your reasoning for being so silent immediately?
Yeah, that's a great question to kick it off on.
There is a pattern here I noticed with Mr. Beast, and that's every time Caleb asks a question, Mr. Beast is like, that's a great question. This could be a way for Mr. Beast to kind of like try to gain favor with oompaville during this interview. Then again, Mr. Beast could be just as nervous, but I don't think he's nearly as nervous as oompaville during this.
You actually kind of laid out the timeline there. The Ava stuff came out, and I put out that tweet. We hired the investigators to go look into it. And part of that investigation is they recommended that I not talk about drama or really do anything online because it might influence, witnesses or any people they might interview or ex-employees. So it's a little unfortunate because I told them, okay, I'll wait till the investigation is over.
This answer could have just been summed up as, yeah, my lawyers told me not to talk about it until they gave us the okay. I don't know why Mr. Beast felt the need to try to like justify it all with a bunch of extra mumbo jumbo, which I'm not even going to bother you with. We're just going to get to the quick answers here, make this as easily digestible for you as we possibly can. oompaville asks, why did you wait? The answer, lawyers. I noticed one thing though that I didn't really like about this interview, and that was that oompaville, I think, forgot that he's not the star of this episode and would go on these long-winded rants talking about his own experiences, which, no offense, oompaville, it's great for your videos, but when you're interviewing Mr. Beast regarding a scandal, he should just be the focal point. We don't need to hear your personal experiences with it and how you can relate to the pressure that Mr. Beast is under. Take that as a note from Barbara Walters. You never heard Barbara Walters interviewing Paul Newman and then bring up her own personal experiences racing cars like he did. Now, I'm sure oompaville's used to being the star of his own episodes, but again, like, he has to remember that the reason people are watching this video isn't to hear more about oompaville, it's to hear about Mr. Beast. And while I'm sure that Caleb in some way or another was doing this to put Mr. Beast a little more at ease, maybe even put himself at ease, I feel like this video would have been a lot shorter if we just cut out all the parts where oompaville just went on these long explanations about how stuff that's affected Jimmy has affected Caleb too. Now, I'll admit, this next part that Jimmy gets into makes me so happy because anybody who knows me knows that I hate r/YouTube drama. Like, I hate it with a passion because, one, they are completely biased. Anybody who's a content creator and who has ever dealt with them knows that if you're trying to get to the bottom of a story and it doesn't fit with the narrative that they're trying to paint on that subreddit, they just simply censor the shit out of you. And finally, someone on a major scale, in fact, the biggest YouTuber on the planet, finally called out the nonsense that's going on with that stupid subreddit. That thing should just be nuked. Like, start over, start fresh with a bunch of new people. Clearly, the moderators on that subreddit absolutely can suck.
Yeah, so throw it on the screen. That same photo, right after that second Dogpack video, started to get traction on Reddit and saying like, hey, this is a lie. Jimmy didn't call him Delaware to make fun of him, committing a crime in Delaware. That's just his name. And it got taken down by the mods on r/YouTube drama. And that's when I realized, like, oh, anytime there's a post proving like that I'm not evil, they were taking it down. So it was a little unfortunate too, because yeah, I wasn't saying anything. And then on Reddit, anytime something was proving that I wasn't evil or, contrarian to what everyone was saying, they were suppressing it or censoring it, not trying to sound extreme.
So you're saying it's like a echo chamber, which, I mean, Reddit, r/YouTube drama is...
Yeah, I know, but it's unfortunate when there's a post with 10,000 upvotes claiming something false about you. Then a couple people are like, wait, that's not true, here's proof. And then they delete it every time. So then everyone's like, okay, well, then that must be true because they're also deleting the comments on that post that prove it's not. Then it's just like, again, I'm not trying to sound extreme, but it's just like, well, you're censoring information.
Do you have evidence of like there being posts that existed and then didn't exist on Reddit that got...
of course. Yeah, I can send you
Yeah, if you send me anything
you
of,
could throw it up
that.
on screen. I mean, that's not like a conspiracy theory. That's
of course, yeah.
Just, we can find quite a few.
I'm not that good at using Google.
Now, I'm not going to go on like a whole tangent about r/YouTube drama, which I easily could because I have my own personal experiences with it. In fact, let me throw it up right there. I've done videos about r/YouTube drama and just how corrupted that stupid ass subreddit is. Maybe Mr. Beast calling him out will finally get something to change with that subreddit, but that's wishful thinking because those people are so damn stubborn. But at least now there's a worldwide knowledge that r/YouTube drama can't be trusted. oompaville next brings up the criticism that Mr. Beast investigated himself by hiring the law firm, but I'm just going to show you a quick clip that pretty much sums up his response to that.
I mean, I think another thing that missing context people don't have is like, if they found anything illegal, they are obligated to report it to the police. Like this like, that's how these things work when they do these investigations. It's not like they could be like, hey Jimmy, we found this illegal thing. we'll just sweep it under the
Yeah,
rug.
but it's all right because you paid us.
Yeah, like so it's just in every way. I just don't think people understand.
While I understand the criticism of investigating yourself, if these lawyers were found out to not follow procedure, they could be disbarred, which I most likely would imagine they don't want to do because that would just end their career and probably ruin their life. Oompaville then brings up the notorious no does not mean no thing, which we're not even going to get into because that was stupid Rosanna Pansino manipulating the shit out of what the message was in there, and I'm not even going to go into that. If you want to see my previous take on that, just go look at one of my live streams regarding Rosanna Pansino, and you'll get a good gist of what my opinion is on her takes on that. Rosanna, you're a stupid bitch. That's all there really is to this. I hope your feet get warts and you never own wicked feet again. Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty nicely. And then, of course, oompaville decides to bring up the Antichrist allegations, which Mr. Beast makes a really good point in this video that I personally didn't even think about, but most people probably should have thought about at some point, but I never got to see that version of the video. It got removed before I could actually see it. So, yeah, I didn't really get a chance to really examine that stuff. But anyway, just listen to Jimmy here. I think he makes a solid point here of why people shouldn't have believed Dogpack right from the get-go.
Dogpack actually cut a part out of his first video about you being the Antichrist. Did you see that?
I did.
What'd you think of that? I mean, you did get here a little fast, to be honest. You teleported
The sad
in.
part is he was being serious in it. And,
Yeah, he cut that part out.
And that he showed that part publicly, and people still were like, okay, well, Kim saying Jimmy's the Antichrist because one of his studios was a church, because there's not many warehouses in North Carolina, so I just bought a church and converted it into a warehouse. And like he unironically was claiming I was the Antichrist in the same video as all these other accusations, but everyone's like, oh, that's the only crazy accusation. Everything else is true. When I saw that, I was like, okay, now people are gonna like be like, okay, maybe he's just, but didn't change anything.
I mean, you gotta love the internet. It's the only place in the whole entire world where someone can claim that someone's the Antichrist, which sounds absolutely crazy when you think about it, but then take every other thing said in that video as factual. Now the part about the cheese, guys, and if you know what I'm talking about with the cheese, it's in relation to Mr. Beast's product, Lunchly, that has been pretty much all over the internet for the cheese having mold. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really like Mr. Beast's excuse here. He kind of just points the blame at the retailers and the vendors instead of taking blame for his own product having so much problems. Now, I will admit, it does seem fair to admit that Mr. Beast is a much more popular figure, much more polarizing, along with KSI and Jake Paul. There would be a lot more reason for people to want to find issues with their food as opposed to, Lunchables, their competitor. So I guess in a way there's a bit of a point here, but I do feel like Mr. Beast, instead of just owning up to it and being like, yeah, we need to do better, make sure our product isn't facing these issues, kind of just points to blame at other people, and I kind of don't really like his reasoning here.
Now on to Lunchly.
Oh,
All
gosh.
right. They're a friend of the show, Rosanna Pansino.
I mean, I guess everybody's got weird friends.
Happened to get a moldy Lunchly, and a couple other creators got
Yes.
moldy Lunchlys, and then that began claims
Yes.
sprouted out of that Lunchly had been recalled due to those problems, due to the mold problems.
Yes.
Moldy cheese. How do you plead?
Yes. How do I plead? What am I on trial? Well, there was no recall. I mean, that's been
Right.
said, which again, it's like so annoying. It's the disinformation, man, because that makes it seem like there's an actual serious problem. Oh, we're recalling Lunchlys, and there's a sign that I think Logan even did a video, if you want to throw up, where he like went to the store and that just wasn't real. That like someone put on like a door that said Lunchly has been recalled when the shelves are empty. By the FDA, which was just a made-up thing. On the mold thing, here's the thing. Every single Lunchly with cheese meat is USDA inspected. There is no mold when it leaves our factory. Yeah. Like, we have the highest QC standards imaginable. Like, what do we have? Why would we ship that out? Like, that doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? And we obviously have the best experts in the world. I mean, even once these things come out, we brought even more. They're pouring up and down the lines, making sure everything's good. It's just... The thing is, here's a context a lot of people leave out. Look at, I don't want to name specific brands but take a specific brand that comes into your mind when you think of something like Lunchly, something that's very similar, specific brand, I don't know, other brands, competitors.
He's talking about Lunchables, folks. All right, he's talking about Lunchables.
And Google their name and put the word mold behind it. You'll see thousands upon thousands of examples. And that, I think, is a key context a lot of people leave out in this because they're acting like this is just a thing with us. Once it leaves your factory, a truck that's delivering it could technically take a sharp turn in a box fall and puncture the seal, or honestly even something as dumb as like when it's put on the shelves at the store, like I can't stop someone from walking to Walmart and grabbing a lunch lid,
Right.
going to the potato chip aisle, putting it there, and then like a day later, an employee going, that doesn't belong there, and put it back. And
Right.
like, I mean, obviously they shouldn't do that. They should throw it away. Of
course.
But like, so there's no mold when it leaves their factories because that's just stupid. Why would we ever let that happen? But
Right.
after that point, you know, there are variables that we just can't control. And that's why every single product in that section, Google their name, put mold behind it. It just occasionally happens. I mean, but we're talking like, I mean, it's moving over 1 million units a week right now. And I'm seeing like maybe a couple examples here and there. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's really, they would have you convinced this is like
It
probably
comes with mold.
Yeah, exactly. When
Yeah.
you're talking about very rare. And it's like, I bet you if you trace most of those cases, it'd be things like, oh, someone just like, I mean, it could even be like someone's refrigerator cut out, or they like, when they put it in their car, they like threw it in their car. And then like, you know what I mean? Like they're just, I can't control these things. You know what I mean?
You know what would be nuts is if we found out that Rosanna Pansino actually took her lunchly, put it outside to let it develop mold before she decided to do her video. I mean, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Picture this, Rosanna Pansino with the lunchly out in the sun. She said, watch how fast this shit turns green, and I'ma make a video about one. Now, obviously, we don't have any proof of that, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past her. Now, we're going to get to the part where we talk about Delaware, the infamous registered sex offender that was a part of Mr. Beast's crew, which already had been debunked in Soggy Cereal's video, but Mr. Beast pretty much just reinforces that notion that he thought Best Buy was doing a good job with background checks, which obviously, I guess, not. Either that or Best Buy is just a bunch of freaky deeks.
You hired a registered sex offender named Delaware. There's a big whole conspiracy with it. Why did you hire Delaware, and were you aware that he was a sex offender before you hired him? This is something that I think a lot of people probably feel like is really important.
It is.
You know.
Yes, I did hire him. But for the context around it, I hired him when I was 19. So I was a teenager back when it was just a couple of my friends from high school, my mom. My videos were getting bigger. I needed more help. And so I walked in because I'm dumb. Like I probably should have gone on some site and hired people who had production experience, but instead I walked into my local Best Buy and I just hired multiple people. One of them was the person named Delaware. And no, I did not know he was a registered sex offender. There's a rumor that's gone around that said that he sat me and my mom down and told us. Obviously, I don't remember that happening. And when I read that tweet, the first thing I did was I called my mom and I was like, hey, this is like 7 or 8 years ago. I was like, did this happen? Because someone's claiming this happened. My mom said, I would have literally quit or honestly probably shut the business down before I ever let my teenage son hire a registered sex offender knowingly.
Now, I think that Jimmy's excuse here sounds perfectly normal to me. At 19 years old, most people just don't really think about those types of things, especially at 19-year-old who's finding success early in life. You can have that kind of immortal, nothing bad can happen to me type of attitude. And I think that's all that Jimmy was a victim of at that point. You can meet people in your life who seem perfectly fine, super nice, and you would never imagine that they're guilty of some of the things that they probably might be guilty of. It's just kind of a part of life. I'm sure many of you have met people who you thought were nice just to find out later that they actually were pretty horrible people. It happens to everyone. You live and you learn, right? That doesn't excuse anything Delaware did. Whatever he did, from what I understand, was something incredibly disgusting that we're not going to talk about. I don't feel like there's any way that Jimmy could have possibly done that at the time. Now it's time to get into Jake Weddle. Now, anybody who's been following me knows that I've been pretty critical of this guy. I feel like he's kind of taking what most people would consider a blessing and have turned around and tried to victimize himself because of it. Most people who get a chance to win life-changing amounts of money like Jake Weddle has, not only once, but several times in his life, would usually look at that as some type of like blessing. But instead, Jake Weddle has used it to victimize himself to anybody who will take 2 seconds to listen to him, and then he follows it up with a bunch of shitty jokes. Now, I know a lot of people like to give me shit in the comments for my takes on Jake Weddle, but I'm sorry, I'm not changing my opinion. As someone who lives in poverty and can barely get by, I'm sorry, Jake Weddle, you can kiss my ass. I would love to compete for that money, and I would do way worse things than what you were put through. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I don't know. I think anytime you compete for prize money of that size, it's not meant to be easy. But anyway, here's Mr. Beast talking about it.
There's an interview with a former employee and contestant named Jake Weddle in which he alleges inhumane treatment on set, even war crimes. Use the turn of phrase war crimes. How do you respond to these allegations, and do you plan on putting procedures in place to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah. Glad I can talk about this one. So I think I should set the floor because maybe not everyone here fully even knows what the challenge was or anything. So yeah, I think it would make sense to. So for the Weddle video, Jake Weddle was a person who competed in one of my videos. The video was we built a room in our studio. And then the challenge was every day you live in this room, you win $10,000. And then it was like kind of like a white padded room. There's like a pool table, a bed in there, bunch of other items, blah, blah. And how do I want to say? I think the best way to talk about this is to also talk about how we did similar videos with other people. Because one of the things is like multiple people can do the same thing and experience it differently. That's what's a little tricky about these like contestant-based videos. I can never know 100% how something's going to affect someone, right? So similar to the Weddle video, I just want to lay the foundation before we go in specifically to that. Similar to that, we also did a video where we put did you see the video where we put two people in a room, Bailey and Susie, 100 days trapped together? So one thing that Weddle struggled with was the lights being on, and he mentioned that in the video. But Bailey and Susie, on day 20 of 100 Day Trapped together, I offered to turn the lights off for part of their prize pool. And they said no. And like the lights wasn't, I mean, I'm sure it was difficult, but it wasn't like that big of a difficulty for them. And so it's like something for them that's not that big of a difficulty for other people can be, challenging and hard. And like what I'm trying to say is you never know how someone's going to react to something, right? It's impossible to fully predict. And so that's one of these variables of these challenges, which is why we give people the ability to quit, you know what I mean? Or to leave at any point. And so in his video, he went 11 days, won $110,000. Right? I believe it was 11
so,
days. Yeah. Yes. And then he decided to quit on that day. And, he mentions this in his video, like around day 11 or 12. I don't know what the day is off the top of my head, but he was struggling. And so we did turn off the lights. We sent a psychiatrist in there to check in on him. And we were like, yeah, he's not doing too well. And we ended the challenge and we paid him. Didn't go long enough where we got a video, so we didn't end up uploading it. But I think the big thing is just that's why we allow people to leave these challenges. Like my goal when doing these obviously isn't to like, break people mentally or push them past their limits. It's just to like create an environment where they can challenge themselves and do something interesting or cool. And then when they've had it, like leave, you know what I mean? So I guess that's kind of how I would describe it. What are your thoughts on what I'm saying?
I think that makes sense. It's important to note that it's also voluntary.
It's a voluntary challenge. You can leave at any point.
Paid exponential amounts of money.
Yeah.
And after all that stuff came out, and he sort of made the claims of how he was mistreated, etc. You reached out to him after the fact as well.
Yeah. I mean, now that I didn't want to bring that kind of stuff up, but yeah, also off camera after he made that video, I reached out and was like, hey man, like obviously we weren't trying to cause you any, mental stress with that video or anything. And is there any way I can help? And I ended up, he seemed like he really needed some financial help. So I ended up sending him $50,000 completely off camera or anything. I mean, he talked about it publicly so people know, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure he was good.
Oh, wow. You took money from Mr. Beast after all that stuff you said? Yeah, this money, this $50,000? Well, first of all, you're going to tax it. So let's say it's more like $30,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's good. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's to me that one's interesting because it's just a sort of a voluntary challenge and it's difficult to it's a very YouTube thing, right? It's a very YouTube thing, and the comparison of that to like war crimes, fairly tone deaf.
Yeah,
to compare it, like that's a ridiculous thing to say.
It's bad when oompaville's even like kind of ragging on you. I guess Jake Weddle is just unanimously disliked, except for the random people who are big Jake Weddle fans, which I'd probably go get yourselves checked as soon as possible. What the hell is wrong with you Jake Weddle fans? Don't you know that guy is more mullet than man? Telling bad jokes the best that he can. We know Jake Weddle blows. But anyway, enough of that beautiful mustached mullet wearing fella. Let's get into the stuff that I promised you guys in the beginning that we would be talking about now, and that is whether or not Mr. Beast is going to sue Dogpack. This is by far probably what everybody wanted to hear, and to be honest, I was shocked when oompaville just randomly dropped this line, even though he opens up the video with it as a hook. You just didn't expect oompaville to kind of just randomly out of nowhere be like, are you gonna sue Dogpack? But sure enough, he did, and this is Jimmy's response to that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Are you going to sue Dogpack?
Well, there's tons of examples of him intentionally manipulating things to not be true and posting it online. Tons and tons and tons of that. Soggy has basically an hour and 27-minute video, and an hour of it is just flat out proving manipulation and lies. And caused a lot of harm to my businesses. I mean, I've literally had people pull out millions of dollars and then tell me it was directly because of his video. And don't worry, I instantly was like, can you send that in writing? So, you know, if I win a case or anything, I can directly point damages. No reason why. And so, I mean, it's just unfortunate. Like, I don't want to be put in this situation, but probably going to have to. I mean, it's just, I mean, what do you do if someone's just spreading misinformation about you and, you know, just causing harm to your business and like getting it to the point where you might have to potentially fire people because it's costing you so much revenue? It's like, it's not fair to the people in my companies. You know what I mean? It's just sad.
Yes, Mr. Beast is incredibly sad. More sad for Dogpack, though, I'd have to imagine. But here's where I think things get interesting. When Mr. Beast opens up about the law firms and some of the conferences that he's had with these lawyers, he mentioned something very specific, and I think that he kind of let something slip here that I don't know if he really intended to do in front of oompaville, because apparently Rosanna Pansino is a friend of the show. But listen carefully to this line right here.
They're not done drafting it up, but once they're done, more than likely, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
I
that's
mean, every law firm I've talked to, they're like, this would be the easiest win they've ever seen in their life. I mean, it's like crazy. I had one tell me like you could chop up all the evidence into like sue 3 separate times and win all 3 cases because you would have enough for each. Like one person I was talking to, he's won like 67 out of his last 70 cases, and he's like, this would be literally the easiest case I've ever done. Like it's because there's just so much blatant, you know, misinformation and lies spread. Like I had one tell me like you could chop up all the evidence into like sue 3 separate times and win all 3 cases because you'd have enough for each. Like
you would have enough for each. Now, he said 3 separate cases. Now, you can't sue Dogpack 3 times for slander. At least I don't think you can. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it doesn't make sense to me that you would be able to sue someone multiple times for slander, but I guess he did make 3 videos. It's very possible. So that leads me to believe that he's suing 2 other people on top of suing Dogpack. My top guesses would have to be Rosanna Pansino, Jake Weddle, and more Pegasus. Now, obviously, I don't think he's gonna sue Jake Weddle because he just gave him money and he was a former employee. Seems to have a soft spot for the guy, but I mean, he probably could sue him, to be honest with you. Definitely suing Dogpack. We've already admitted to that. Now, some people can say that, you know, it's a bad look for Jimmy, but the point of the matter is that if you're gonna spread baseless claims against people on the internet, unfortunately, there are repercussions that come along with those types of things. Now, we've been saying it since day one that Dogpack's been pretty reckless with a lot of the accusations that he's throwing out there, and I think Dogpack was just addicted to the fame, addicted to the clout that he was getting, and just couldn't help himself. Now, where things get interesting, though, is he gonna sue Rosanna Pansino? Let's see. There's been no bigger critic other than Dogpack than Rosanna Pansino. My guess would be she would be one of the 3 because she has basically slandered the ever-living shit out of this guy, from his food to his business to the messages in his company, which obviously were fake, and she has the largest platform, therefore she has the biggest outreach. Her outreach blows away Dogpack's outreach. So I think it's safe to say he's going to be suing Rosanna Pansino, and man, I gotta say, she deserves it. Look, I understand that when it comes to the online content creator space, there's a lot of jealousy, there's a lot of rivalries, a lot of beefs, and feelings get hurt. But what Rosanna has been doing, this complete onslaught on the Mr. Beast, has been nothing short of petty. It's been nothing short of obsessive and stalkerish. Like, she needs to just go back to baking. I mean, we're talking about a woman who came up online making cupcakes, and now all of a sudden she's trying to pretend to be a journalist. I don't think that she really understands the rules and the principles that go along with journalism. I think that all she cared about was hurting Mr. Beast because of that stupid damn hide and seek game. Now, I know a lot of you people aren't going to be happy to hear that, and I also know that defending Mr. Beast is still unpopular, believe it or not, but he has every right, in my opinion, to sue the ever-living shit out of Dogpack and sue Rosanna Pansino. And while, yeah, we live in America, land of the free, home of the brave, freedom of speech can take you pretty far in life, but it can't take you anywhere, and that stops at slander. If you start basically talking shit on someone and start costing them money because of the shit you're talking and doesn't have any real weight behind it, then you could be sued for that, and that could cost you a lot of money. It's a way to protect people from campaigns being wrought against them and destroying someone's life over rumors, which I think is fair. It's one thing if you're speaking facts, but it's another thing if you're just making shit up or twisting narratives. And I think that's what Rosanna's been doing professionally. I think it's how Dogpack created his whole entire career. He's built a career on lies. And I think that we need to be realistic about that at this point. Now, again, I just got to be clear here. You know, Jimmy has a lot to answer for, and there was a lot in this interview that I didn't like. I didn't like that he was very short on his crypto stuff with oompaville, but, you know, go check out the interview for yourself. Watch the whole thing through. Personally, I just wanted to give you guys abbreviated version of it where we touch on what I felt were the most important parts. Also, go check out Soggy Cereal's video. I think there's a lot of good information in that video, too. I definitely think he's a much more credible source than Dogpack because Soggy's evidence comes straight from the mouths of people whose identities are connected and not just from a bunch of random texts that start off with "I heard" in the front of them. That's the kind of evidence I like to hear when I make my opinions. You know what I mean? But anyway, guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know where we go from here. Every time I think this story's over, more stuff comes out. But for now, I hope that this is the end of the Mr. Beast drama. But then again, if he sues Dogpack, I mean, we're gonna have a whole bunch more to talk about. So make sure you guys come on back here and check that out. And in the meantime, take a look at this. While Rosanna Pansino's getting sued, you might as well watch my videos too. Rosanna Pansino's getting sued, you might as well watch my videos too. Seriously, it's right up there. What are you waiting for? Click it. I said click it!